house for all these years, waiting for a hand to hold. Watch the sunlight turn to gold, knowing that I'm getting older. I'm a sparrow without wings, waiting for my chance to fly, dreaming of just you and I. And I couldn't love you more than I do. And I said before, when I get alone with you, then you'll know it's true. Ticking clocks inside and side, with the sound of your hello. Smile can make the deepest snow, heart beating and my breath no slower, sending shivers down my spine. Turn the corner just in time, try to make it out alive. And I couldn't love you more than I do. And I said before, when I get alone with you, then you'll know it's true. Hold me close, hold me close. Don't let go, don't let go. Can't believe I'm who you chose. More real than life could ever see, ever see. Never thought I'd live my wildest dreams. And I couldn't love you more than I do. And I said before, when I get alone with you, then you'll know it's true. And I and I said then you know it's true.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be part of such a special evening, so I want to thank everyone for having us. I can't wait to hear what you all have to say. So this next song is a brand new song that I wrote called There's a Lot to Lose, and I wrote it for my son. I'm a new mama, and it was Thank you. He's still a baby to me. He just turned 3, but he's still a baby. I think I'll always feel like a new mom. Is that just what happens? Yeah? Okay. So this song embodies the feelings that I have about how vast the love is that I have for him and how beautiful that is, but at the same time, how vast the fear can be with that kind of love and how it's really scary too. So it's both at once.
They keep saying I can't remember life before you were born. That's not true, but I can tell you it's better than before. There's a lot to lose. 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 I will always remember the first time I saw you laugh. So endearing in your feelings, I thought my heart could crash. There's a lot to lose. There's a lot to lose.
Buenas noches. When the horizon became love, a love story. And there I was, walking through the crumbling concrete floor and cracked railing, looking beyond the mountains and volcanoes, imagining that my real home was waiting for me beyond the horizon. This unloved little girl prayed devotedly to God to take her away, either to heaven or to a place where she felt loved. Her raggedy cloth doll was her only companion. The doll looked dirty, but what people didn't know was that those were dry tears all over her old face and dress. I still feel that pain, especially when I look at myself in the mirror in disbelief that I couldn't be loved, just like every little girl should be loved, cherished, and seen. Mommy, why don't you love me? She would ask. An angry and annoyed voice would reply, don't I feed you? Don't you have a roof over your head? And I would answer, yes, you do. But why don't you love me like you love my brother and my sister? And the little girl's longing for love made her vulnerable to predators that soiled her body, but not her spirit, and her quest to find love beyond the horizon. Love must be in a different place, she thought, and she felt deeply that the horizon was calling her. She looked everywhere, but her empty heart couldn't find that magic love in the neighbors, at church, with teachers, or any adult that seemed approachable. Am I so unlovable that the adults around me think that I am ugly, insignificant, and annoying? She will wonder. So she will sing and dance, speak in public and perform, longing to be seen or to find that one person that will love her deeply and will see beyond her crooked teeth, messy hair, and worn out shoes. It was so hard, especially when teachers would ask, do you have a mother? Tell your mother to fix you up better next time. The talent wasn't enough at times. A neglected child screams of abandonment even if that child has practiced to pretend that her life looked differently to what it really was. Maybe, I won't call it pretend. Maybe I will call it a quest for love. So my quest to be loved was so intense that the sky seemed to invite me to keep on looking, to not give up, to not stay still, to continue looking for love beyond the horizon. She knew her mother was suffering, and the pain wouldn't let her mother see who the little girl was, who I am. Her mother wasn't able to see beyond the trauma inflicted to her and her children by her husband. He wouldn't only steal their food, their purity, their innocence. He also stole their peace. What I didn't know back then was that my mother also lacked love from her parents and her family growing up, and that my father stole her virginity in a fatal afternoon. That forced her to marry him in the middle of a society that valued women for their purity and virtue, regardless of the circumstances. So there it was. This little girl was too much to take in. She would ask too many questions, too many words, I was too much, at least for a mother's wounded heart. The little girl once heard the story of our blessed Virgin Mary, appearing to this orphan nun who asked the Virgin to mother her. So the little girl thought, I'm gonna write poems, and I'm gonna sing songs, and I'm gonna visit all the altars where she would plead to the statue or Blessed Mother to please mother her too, to give her a sign that she was also her mother, and that she loved her, and that she would protect her. Time passed, and the little girl grew up. But I still feel and see this little girl, especially in moments when she needs a mother's hug or I need a comforting embrace. She never stopped looking at the horizon and feeling deep inside her soul that she should follow every sign for her to start the journey to walk towards it and find love. So one day, she courageously left everything she knew and gathering her little belongings, her dreams and hopes, she took off. Yes, she fled despite all the odds and defying all around her because love was calling her loudly. I want to believe that destiny took her to a magical land, a land where the grass is blue, where spring feels like paradise, summer is a festive picnic, fall is a live watercolor, and winter is an unexpected surprise. She felt she arrived at what now she calls my old Kentucky home. Love seemed very near, but she wasn't sure how it really felt. She just had memories and flashbacks of what love shouldn't look like or feel like. I am sure real love leaves traces of deep and sweet memories, she will tell herself. And she will always wander through her memory and couldn't find any, making her feel so empty. One day she met a man that seemed loving and kind, and then she started feeling safe enough to start thinking about having a family and a baby. The first attempt failed, and she cried her eyes out, thinking, maybe I am not ready to be a good mother because I didn't have one. Self-doubt consumed her, but love kept calling her, whispering to her ear for her not to give up. And on a New Year's Day, she felt differently. She felt that something had changed. Love was not only near. She didn't know that that day love was forming inside of her. Yes, love was in my womb. His little face, hands, feet moved my whole being into a state of discovery. I knew the first time I held him in my arms that I had to change the world around him. I intentionally started to connect patiently to a journey that I had only imagined. And I felt at times like a fantasy. Our first Christmas together was a bliss. I held him all day long, and I sang to him all the Christmas songs I knew in English and Spanish. And that day, it clicked to me that I didn't have any memories of beautiful Christmas past, but that my son would have a different story to tell. His Christmas will have traditions, adventures, and above all, love and joy. After that magical Christmas, another gift was given to me, the most precious, intelligent, and sassy little girl. So I not only decided the intentionality of beautiful Christmas and traditions, but I understood that I could love those babies in a way that was beautiful, and that it was through them that I was going to break the generational cycle of abandonment that I know now my elders and ancestors, as well as me, had faced for many generations. As I break the cycles every day, I know my children never, never wonder if they are loved. They don't have to struggle to be seen, to be appreciated, to be validated and encouraged. Even when their father and I fell apart, they knew that our home was not a place or out there in the horizon. Our home is wherever the three of us will go. Yes, that is our home. Our family of three grew after some years. This sweet, crazy, funny, and charismatic man showed up when my heart was no longer seeking, since I already knew real love. He chose to be in our lives and merge in our daily intentional quest to love each other and strengthen our families and became part of our home. He chose to love me. He chose to love my children. And he chose to love my home as his own. I also found a purpose and a reason of my journey, a little home, a place called La Casita, where I have encountered kindred beings that lovingly and passionately accompany other souls when healing, when starving, when suffering. It is a movement, a family, a community of Latinx hospitality. And the loneliness, the trauma, and the hurt became my superpowers and the motivation to eradicate them from this life, or at least to speak openly about it so others will join me to find their superpowers. And why not their horizons as well? Some mornings when I see the little girl eye to eye, we smile at each other. We sometimes cry, not because we are suffering, but because our pain is so deep that the hurt haunts us at times. We continue telling each other that we are no longer longing or dreaming of something that seemed impossible, but that our quest to find love has come to an end. No more crying ourselves to sleep. No more wondering the whys of not being loved or the reasons that made us unloved. No more loneliness. And not only because I became a mother 19 years ago, but because love transformed me and everything that I am. At the end, I discovered that love and the horizon have always been inside of me, that they were not a fantasy. They were my truth, and they are my truth. And that truth is that this is the story of a horizon that became love. And yes, I am witnessing it every single day, because I exist in the knowing that I am living what I was meant to be, and in the loving place where I can exist. Muchas gracias.
rare cancer seen in 41 homosexuals. New York Times, July 3rd, 1981, by Lawrence K. Altman. Doctors in New York and California have diagnosed among homosexual men 41 cases of a rare and often rapidly fatal form of cancer. 8 of the victims died less than 24 months after the diagnosis was made. Who remembers this article? Do I have any fellow 60-year-olds, pushing 60 people who remember this? This is something my mother, a nurse, sent to me my freshman year in college at Temple University. We hadn't had the conversation about her son being gay yet. My mother was a Seventh-day Adventist, and that was not something you had a conversation about as a black person with a mother who was a Seventh-day Adventist. And I was in and out of the closet so much that you couldn't guess where I was trying to be anyway. But for all the excellence that she demonstrated in her work, and all the admiration for her work as a nurse, and all the love that this woman had in her heart for her children, she also had a legacy of having every black man in her family of origin die a rather tragic death. Her father suicided, was an alcoholic, violent. Her youngest brother, who was almost like her son, she said, Billy, died of a heroin overdose when they were pushing a lot of heroin in the DC area in that time to kill black men. And then my Uncle Wink, the only one I ever knew, had a tobacco addiction where he got lung cancer and then suicided in his backyard. So she was very concerned about her sons. My mother tended to have a very anxious kind of rapport with the world, and a sense of a lack of safety and worry about her son's safety. So my father, extraordinary man, was always that rock that kind of steadied her. And yet, this conversation with this article, my mother said, "Did you see this article in the Times when I'm up in Philly for my first time away from home?" She said, I said, "Oh yeah, I think I caught it, yeah." She said, "You know, just be careful." I said, "Yeah, I'm being careful." "What do you mean, be careful?" "Just be careful." And then she went into something about like houseboys, because my mother didn't know much about gay world. She was like, "I hear there's houseboys, they become houseboys, so just be careful." I was like, okay, I think that's something, but what it was more than anything was my mother's way of saying, "I love you so much, and I am so worried for you." I sent my child to Temple University after he got arrested for drunk driving at 17, and seemed to be somewhat on a course that looked really troubling to her, and trying to have a sense of confidence I was going to be okay after all the evidence showed black men don't survive. That was my mother's way of really letting me know I meant more to her than anything, and my survival and her love for me was infinite. 39 years later, the New York Times, 1981 gay cancer story continues to distort early AIDS history. July 2nd, 2020, by Ted Kerr. For many people in the US, the second weekend of March 2020 was when the COVID-19 era of US history began for them. On that Friday, the 13th, no less, Trump declared a national emergency, and that Sunday, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, advised against gatherings of more than 50 people. With the beginnings of social distancing in place, it became impossible to distance oneself from the unfolding pandemic. 39 years later, my mother has Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's that her mother also had. Happened as soon as my grandmother died. Something odd happened in 2004. I began to become her conservator and her caregiver, primary caregiver, for a period of 3 years when my father died in 2011. I left a tenured job at the University of San Diego, and I said, I'm going on a family and medical leave to take care of my mother back in Kentucky. I came to Kentucky, we were in Frankfurt, and we found a way to just kind of keep moving along. At some point, she started to feel very comfortable, and she said, hey, why don't we just stay here in Kentucky? And in one of those moments that, only a really spoiled youngest child can do, still being a grown-up, still feeling like Carly said, the 3-year-old and mom being mom, I said, Mom, there is no other game in town other than the Actors Theater of Louisville. I have never worked there. I will never work there. That's not a theater for us. You never took us there. We have to go to DC. We're going to DC. It is the only option. We're going to go to DC. I'm going to do this fellowship at Arena Stage, and I am going to make Molly Smith my best friend, and I'm going to find a way to go from a college professor to back into the nonprofit arena. I don't know how it's going to happen, but that's what we're going to do. I'm a really smart guy, but God really wanted to make sure he played a joke on me about I am not divine by letting me become the artistic director of Actors Theater of Louisville many years later. You're smart, you don't know everything. We go to DC, I take care of her for about 3 years. I try to figure out, I learned you're not supposed to be your mother's caregiver in that way. Get a whole staff of people, they start working with her. I eventually have to go back into the work market. And this job at Arena Stage happens where I become the director of artistic programming after serving as a fellow, a middle-aged fellow, getting Molly Smith tea and whatever she needed. The grace of this woman, like so many in my life who have been there, like my mother, to nurture and support someone, is extraordinary. That we all come from the same place, wherever we come from, and seem to go back to that same place is extraordinary. I'm here preparing for the Humana Festival of New American Plays. It's in March 2020. I'm in rehearsal for a show called Grace, about a family that loses a matriarch and how they navigate that. We get notice that we're closing everything. Pandemics hit. And we're sending everyone home at peak Humana time. And it's over. I get a call that my mother is taking a turn. She's still at the home in Cleveland where I was the associate artistic director. I've been working, how do I get her here to Louisville? I just can't find the right place yet, but I'll do it after the Humana Festival. She's taking a turn, something's happened. Oh, okay, should I come? Let us call you back. We're not letting people in the home. Yes, we think you should come immediately. She is actively dying. Okay, I call my brother, he starts up. I drive up, I'm listening to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, every book that my mother ever had on the shelf, trying to figure out how I'm going to prepare for this moment. I get there, it's the Christmas that she first doesn't remember who I am. I took her out to dinner and brought her back, and when I saw her, I said, let's get your coat on, sweetie, and she said, okay, sweetie. And I was like, that's not how my mother usually acts, and I realized, oh. I said, Ma, do you know who I am? And she said, no. I said, I'm your son, Bobby. She went, oh. I said, you just let a strange man take you out to dinner? She was like, this is free dinner. Well, when I get there, she's actually lost the ability to speak 12 hours earlier. And I realize, just like my mother said to me when I was really concerned as a young kid, it's gonna be okay. Even if it's not okay, it'll be okay. In a kind of solid, just steely way, clear that this is one of the strongest women I'll ever meet in my life. I'm there with her, and I have to think of this moment and say, I guess it's going to be okay, even if it's not okay. My mother passes on the day that we were supposed to open Grace. I don't think any of those things are accidents. I think it's a divine way of saying, welcome. You're a part of something bigger than yourself. I'm over time, but I just want to share one of my mom's favorite poems. She had this up on her office wall when I was a kid, and I would see it. I didn't really understand it at the time, but this woman was so dedicated, as my father was, to service and to this state, and to black people, and to white people, and to everyone that wanted assistance and help. They understood. As Afrocentric as my father was, he understood we all are a part of the same family. He told me, as Afrocentric as he was, I'm a biologist. We're all cousins, actually. Might be distant cousins, and like a family, we might have a lot of alienation between us, but we're family. So this poem I want to offer just as a thank you to all of my family, all of my supporters, all of my detractors. I love you all. You teach me every day, and I look forward to continuing being in relationship with you. It's called The Paradoxical Commandments by Dr. Kent M. Keith. I wrote down the more spiritual one that's adapted by Mother Teresa, but this is the one that was up on my mom's wall, and I think it speaks to this incredible woman. People are illogical, unreasonable, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you are successful, you will win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. The biggest men and women with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest men and women with the smallest minds. Think big anyway. People favor underdogs, but follow only top dogs. Fight for a few underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you do help them. Help people anyway. Give the world the best you have, and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best you have anyway. Thank you.
My best friend is sick, big sick. Get your affairs in order sick. This is my 40 years and counting in my pocket, know you like the back of my heart friend. You know those birthday cards with photographs of old ladies on the front? We send those to each other. We are who they make those for. We are supposed to grow old together. The doctors are singing a different tune. My friend Ed, he's a doctor. I tell him her situation, and he just says, I'm sorry. Mary Alice's gut imploded mid-pandemic. The ovarian cancer was fast and gnarly. They got rid of it, it came back, and now we're scared. And she is miles away. From here, I can do nothing, which kills me because we always fix each other. In the face of this, I'm useless. So we talk on the phone, as always. We spent less than 10 years of our lives in the same city, yet we thrive. Our near daily conversations are haunted by the elephant in the room. I just concentrate on being of service. What kind of friend does she need today? Does she need to laugh? Does she need to gossip? Does she need to reminisce? Does she need to just talk about the difficulty her life has become? Whatever, I'm here. I'm your girl. But sometimes, you gotta talk about the elephant. One Wednesday in January, she calls me scared. There's a pain in her gut that won't go away. She's not afraid of dying per se, she's afraid of dying a painful death. This pain, is that the beginning of this? We're capital S spiritual, by the way. In the 80s, I had a profound spiritual experience that pulled me from alcoholism and addiction. My awakening came about page 122 of Shirley MacLaine's Out on a Limb. MacLaine introduced a mainstream audience to concepts like past lives, spirit guides, channelers, energy healing, but most importantly, that divinity is our birthright. It lives within each of us, and if we claim it and live from it, we can have any kind of life we can envision. All of this rang true in my heart, and I believed every word. And the first thing I envisioned was sobriety. I haven't had a drink or a drug since. Mary Alice was having a similar experience out in Los Angeles. I joined her there, and we talked about this stuff for hours. We went to teachers and channelers, got tarot readings, compared notes. You know, we bonded in college, but this late 20s tandem awakening sealed our friendship for life. We still believe all that stuff. We believe that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. We know that energy and spirit is stronger than any collection of aberrant cells. We have heard miraculous stories of healing, and we believe them. We know people can heal themselves. I don't think I'm one of those people. I am not that good. I'm not that faithful. And I love Mary Alice, but I don't think she is either. I mean, we're not holy. So, on this Wednesday in January, I answer very carefully when Mary Alice asks me what I think about people that heal themselves. Well, honey, people do, but who do you have to be? Jesus Christ? Shirley MacLaine? Well, I'm very disappointed to hear you say that, she says, because I'd really like to try. Oh, okay. She wants to try. Okay, whatever. I'm here. I'm your girl. Let's try. So we stay on the phone as we go up to our altars. We blow the dust off our crystals, light candles, burn sage, all the things. I get my Bluetooth settled and we sit. I take the lead. I don't know what I'm doing. Well, I just follow my instinct and make it up as I go along. I mean, people heal themselves all the time, right? Why not us? You know, maybe it's my acting training, but I find it oddly easy to become a master healer on the spot. I slip into a meditative state. I feel guided. I see my friend across the miles. I see light pouring into her body. I guide it with my crystals. I focus the light on Mary Alice. I ask for angelic energy, any assistance from our guides, from friends and family that have passed, anything, all of it. Maybe I'm nuts, but it doesn't matter. Because when we're done, Mary Alice feels better. The pain is gone. The fear has subsided. We did that together. Oh God, it feels so good to have helped, to have done something. We start meeting almost every day, and every time Mary Alice feels better. About a week in, something really strange happens. I feel a presence in me. My hand vibrates and drops one of the crystals. First, I'm talking, and then I start sounding really wise and different, and then I realize they are talking. My syntax changes. My vocal pitch fluctuates up and down like they're trying to feel their way in this new physicality. I break through. Mary Alice, this isn't me. I know, she says. Who is this? Teresa knows who we are. I do. I have felt them before for years while meditating. Sometimes they moved my head and my mouth. One time I was falling asleep and they lifted me up from under my armpits like, straighten up, pay attention. Most of the time it's just a subtle presence. So yeah, I knew they were there. I didn't think they'd show up like this though, but here they are. You know, when I saw the channelers when I was younger, I always imagined kind of a possession scenario, like something would rush in and take over. But it's really more gentle than that. It's like tuning a radio, but the radio is you. You relax into the frequency and the radio plays through you. I don't hear actual words. I sense blocks of thought. They use my brain and my vocabulary, but the voice is different. And sometimes I want to edit them, and I can, but I feel this constriction in my throat. The same thing I feel when I lie. Mary Alice talks to them and finds out their name's Ariel. They're my guide or guides. I don't know if the they that I sense is a plural or non-binary. I just use the pronoun that seems to be preferred, as you do. They're talking to her about her healing, and they say that she can do this, and we can help, and by we, I know they mean me and them. They say, Ariel says that Mary Alice has to claim her right to stay, that she has to intend often that she wants this life, this body, this time. She needs to affirm her complete healing, and she does. We start meeting regularly, and Mary Alice always feels better. She isn't necessarily getting better. There are medical setbacks. I have to stop talking to my friend Ed, the doctor. He's very compassionate, but he's a doctor. He can't sugarcoat it. He tells me the trajectory these patients usually take, and I just can't hear it. Despite all this, though, Mary Alice is increasingly encouraged. The diagnosis, the fear, just doesn't have her by the throat anymore. Every medical setback can be looked at as a boon in the right light. They got more information. Her team shifts their plan. And then we shift too. We're getting better at this healing thing. Ariel gives us really specific imagery. They talk to her body and we feel it talk back and guide us. Sometimes we feel the energy jerking us around in our chairs like electricity. Neither one of us have ever felt anything like this before. It feels really real. Now you'd think this would transform me into a New Age guru, Instagram shaman. but I'm still just me. And I still don't know what I'm doing. I do a little bit of research and find out I am so full of shit with this stuff. I number the chakras backward. I use the wrong crystals for the wrong purposes. But it doesn't seem to matter. It seems like it's the intention, the energy, the love that matters. We're recording the sessions now, and Mary Alice listens incessantly. I don't. I love that I'm helping my friend, but I'm not altogether comfortable with this new identity that I've defaulted into. You know, sometimes I felt like I'm channeling when I'm acting and even writing. Is this all that is? And the more dependent Mary Alice becomes on me and Ariel, the more pressure I feel to stay available. These could be the last months of her life. So everything goes on hold. My wife does dinner duty nightly so I can be free for sessions. I quit a play I'm in. I rearrange my work schedule to be available for emergency travel. Emotionally, I am a wreck. I stay strong for her, but I fall apart everywhere else. But still, medically, there's still not much good news. But still, Mary Alice has such faith. She knows we're making a difference. All I know is she isn't afraid. And that something in me, something that she pulled out of me, something connected to some higher healing love is creating calm in her being. And any discomfort that I feel around any of that can't matter. I mean, people heal themselves all the time, right? Why not us? I guess I have faith too. Because I put aside all my self-doubt and I show up for my friend exactly as she needs me. And even if none of it is real, even if it is just our desperate hearts searching for a way to keep her here, to stave off goodbye, it's making her life better. It's making my life better too. This guidance that we've stumbled on is showing up for me in unexpected ways. I have a confidence, a connectedness that's new. It's like a piece I never knew was missing suddenly falls into place. It feels good. And you know, none of us know how much time we have left on this planet. Me and Mary Alice, this thing we're doing, whatever you call it, it's making every minute that we have left better. One Tuesday in May, everything changes. She gets a good scan. The big bad mass of aberrant cells that was growing is now dying. She tells me this and I burst into tears and she laughs. Oh, why are you so surprised? This is what we've been doing all along. This is what Ariel said would happen. Ed is mystified. The inoperable tumor is now operable. This is very rare, he assures me. By the time they take it out, it's just dead. And now, it's just gone. It's been 2 years almost since we started our sessions. Mary Alice is still not out of the woods, but she has far outlived her original prognosis. Last February, she welcomed her new grandson into the world. In May, she got to go to Italy, her first trip since the pandemic. And I still have my best friend. Her ability to heal quickly and maintain her positive attitude continues to amaze her medical team. Their everyday existence of treating this crappy disease, she is an anomaly. We're so grateful to the doctors, to the innovative medicine, to her entire team. And we still do our healing sessions. And I still sometimes wonder if it's real. You know, all the books that I've read, all the channeled literature, all the channelers I've seen, all the ones I've even known, I never doubted their veracity for a second. Why do I have doubts when I'm the channel? Ariel says that the power doesn't lie with them anyway, it lies with us. That her healing is and has always been in our hands. That the books, the teachers, the channelers, they help, but only by showing us our own divinity. That's a lesson. And if we embrace that, there's no limit to how far we can go. So now, we affirm our holiness. We are holy. We intend her complete healing. We envision her living a full and thriving life. And you know what? We believe we can get there. Because people heal themselves all the time. Why not us? Thank you.
Hi. We have another story for you about my best friend who also got cancer. By the way, these stories are so moving. Thank you all for sharing. It's so amazing. This is a song that I wrote for one of my best friends that got diagnosed with one of those really scary terminal cancers. We all in our lives have come across cancer. Unfortunately, we deal with that all the time. And this song is something that I wrote for her as an anthem because she really blew me away with the way she handled this diagnosis at the age of 30. And what she did a few months after being diagnosed was she got her family all together in her backyard around New Year's Eve, and they had a bonfire, and she wrote down on little pieces of paper all the things that she was afraid of and things that she likely wouldn't get to do. Things like getting married, having a kid, just these big milestones that sometimes we all take for granted. And she threw them into the fire with her family all around her. And that really struck me, that she decided to look at her life and choose love over fear for whatever time she would have left. So I invite everyone in the audience to mentally write down in their mind on a little piece of paper something that you're afraid of and something that you feel is holding you back, and throw it into the fire with us during this song.
Can't tell me not to feel good. Can't tell me not to dream of the life I've always dreamed of. I will never hide these tears, pour out of me like wine. It seems I taste the bittersweet of time. and I will love harder than you'll ever understand. And I will breathe deeper, 'cause I know that I can. I really can't explain the power of this pain. Don't tell me we can't change this life. I try to rearrange my mind. I don't worry about the change in times. I've opened up my heart to see I don't fall apart. I just feel I'm stronger than I'll ever be. And I will love harder than you'll ever understand. And I will breathe deeper, 'cause I know that I can. I really can't explain the power of this pain. We've been burning and burning long. We've been burning and burning long. We keep burning and burning long. We've been burning and burning long. We keep burning and burning long. We've been burning and burning long. We've been burning and burning long. We keep burning and burning long. We've been burning and burning long. I've opened up my heart to see I don't fall apart. I just feel I'm stronger than I'll ever be.
Thank you. All right, so this next song is a love song that I wrote for my husband. He's out here somewhere. I don't know where he is, but you can find him. So this song is called This Home, and I wrote this for him just in awe of the home that we built together for ourselves. What little or whatever we have throughout our lives with the foundation of us two, I just felt so strong that we could do anything. And this was before we had a kiddo. And so kind of in the last verse, it starts to talk about, I think we can do that. Maybe we can do this. So it's just kind of a love song for him and how much he makes me feel safe and seen at home.
the seams. The bottom may crumble after so long, but I know the foundation will always stay strong. Think of where we started and how far we've come. The next path is steep climb. We can't go it alone. So much left to learn, so much left to do. But even if we don't do it all, I still had you. We built this home from our dreams, our heads in the grooves, and our hearts in the seams. The bottom may crumble after so long, but I know the foundation will always stay strong.
How y'all doing? Good, fantastic. My name is Stephen Michael Carr, and before I tell my story, I just wanted to say two things. Thing number one, if you know me, you know that my absolute favorite local musician is Carly Johnson. So I am just kind of like, oh my God, I'm on stage with Carly Johnson, right? So that's thing number one. Thing number two is to know me. Thing number two is that to know me is to also know that I love storytelling. And the reason why I love storytelling so much is because unlike giving a speech, it is an active conversation that you have with the audience. So if I say something funny, you laugh. If I say something shocking, you gasp, right? And honey, I am a Baptist, so if I say something and you feel so moved, saying amen, that's right, Adria, saying amen, or I know that's right, or or won't he do it, or any of those kinds of things is perfectly acceptable. That's, girl, that's right, exactly. So I just wanted to let y'all know that it's okay for us to converse in that way. Y'all hear me? You got it? Cool, fantastic, all right, amen. There we go. So 2 weeks after David and I started dating, we decided that we were going to try to go to church together at Highland Baptist. Now, according to the internet, Highland Baptist was open and affirming. Now, I had just come out as a gay man, and I had recently left the Southern Baptist Church, so I was like, I don't know about all this open and affirming stuff, you know, because as far as I was concerned, being Baptist meant several things. Number one, being gay is a sin. Number two, so is drinking. Number three, so is dancing. And number four, is it whenever women have any position of power, right? So needless to say, I was a little skeptical about this whole open and affirming thing. And yet, when we walked into the sanctuary for the first time, the ceiling did not collapse on us. We did not catch on fire during the middle of the sermon. And so we thought to ourselves, this might be a good church home for us. And we jumped headfirst into church life. We joined ministry groups and we sat in on committee meetings. We even helped form the True Colors ministry that to this day still walks in the Pride Parade every year. But there was one thing a little odd about this open and affirming Baptist church, and that was that they had never performed a same-sex wedding ceremony. Someday, they said, not because they were opposed, it's just that no one had ever asked. In the summer of 2011, my boyfriend David and I attend 8 weddings together from May through September. 8. Most of them are his college friends. All of them happen in churches. None of them are open and affirming. It's a really interesting thing celebrating people you love in a place that does not love you. The pastor knows it. He can tell as soon as you walk in the door because of the way that your clothes fit or the fearless way that you wear pink, right? The couple knows it too, but they chose this place anyway because it looks really good in pictures. And you know it. You can feel it weighing down on you every time you step into the door. But this isn't about you. It's never about you. This isn't your special day. It's their special day. Don't make this about you. These are the things that you tell yourself, and so you push those feelings down as far as you can, and you sashay into that wedding reception, and you drink way too many glasses of wine, and you cut a rug on the dance floor, and everyone tells you that you're a great dancer, and you say thank you so much, but you sit down during the slow songs because you don't want to be a bother. You don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. Wash, rinse, repeat. This is the roller coaster that your queer friends go through every time they come to one of your church weddings. And if you don't believe me, ask them. Because we don't want to be a bother. Except for that last wedding. That last wedding in September of 2011 when we decided maybe we did, in fact, want to be a bother. You see, I don't know if it was the wine that I had too much of. I don't know if it was the fact that we were tired of sitting on the sidelines, but the first notes of At Last by Etta James came on, and David reached his hand out and he said, "We are going to dance." Now, we had never done this before. We had never slow danced in front of people before, okay? I was not sure of this, but he said, "Stephen, it is always going to be like this. We are always going to live through this. People are going to talk. People are going to stare. And honey, we look great. Let them stare." And so I said, "Well, who is this very assertive man who has just asked me to dance?" And so I gave him my hand and we went off onto the dance floor and we started swaying around like with the best of them, you know, and it felt right. It felt whole. It felt good. And then the song changed and they went on to do the "How Long Have You Been Married" dance. Are you all familiar with this concept? If you're not, you know, the DJ starts calling out numbers, and married couples get on the dance floor and they dance, and if they call a number and you haven't been married that long, you get the hell off the dance floor, right? So we got off the dance floor because this was pre-marriage equality and we weren't married. So we stood on the sidelines and we watched them slowly count up the numbers: 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, until there was one lone couple standing, completely wrinkled, old, so happy to be on the dance floor. Their relationship aged like all of those bottles of Pappy Van Winkle that we all wanted but we couldn't afford. And David and I were sitting on the sidelines watching, and David leans into me and he says, "I want that someday." And I said, "Me too. Someday. Amen." So in January of 2012, we decided that it is time for us to approach the pastor of Highland Baptist Church, Joe Phelps. Do you all know Joe Phelps? Yeah. About getting married in the sanctuary, right? And we knew that this was going to be kind of a gauntlet. Like, it was going to take a while, because I don't know how much you all know about Baptist culture, but let me break it down for you, and as quickly as I can, okay? Baptists are highly democratic, they are self-governing, and they are wholly autonomous. So, like, there is no higher political structure than the members of the church. So the blessing of being a Baptist is that you get to have a say-so in everything that goes on at the church. The curse of being a Baptist is that you get to have a say-so in everything that happens in the church, right, Teresa? Exactly. And so that means sitting in on committee meetings and voting on bylaw changes and attending congregational conversations where we come up with what our public stance is going to be on things like systemic racism or what's happening at our borders, or in this case, marriage equality. And so Pastor Joe was really excited about us wanting to get married in the church. I could see it in his eyes. I could tell that he was like, oh yes, I'm going to get to perform my first gay wedding and show people how progressive I am. Woohoo! You know? And, but even though he felt that way, he said, here's the thing, y'all. This is a political game that we have to play, and we only get one shot to get this written into the bylaws of the church. And if we mess it up, we don't get another chance. And our church has gone through a lot of changes already this year. So what I don't want to happen is for us to bring this forward to the congregation and it not pass. So I think we need to wait a year. And we said, okay. Because we were so used to not being a bother, you know? And so we attended committee meetings and we voted on bylaw changes and we marched in the Pride Parade, although by then we were like, is this really appropriate for us to walk in the Pride Parade? Because we can't walk down the aisle yet, so someday, we said. After that year was up, we knocked on Pastor Joe's door. It was the day before Christmas Eve, and he ushered us in, and we sat down with him and the newly appointed deacon chair, a woman named Kathy. This was our second deacon chair. The first one's name was Susan. The second one's name was Kathy. That's not really important, but I feel like you should know it. And behind that closed door, they said, we still don't think the congregation is ready. Because you see, that past year, while we had been waiting, they ordained their first gay minister, a man named Maurice, and they had just gotten through this really big capital campaign, and they were trying really hard to keep their ears to the ground, and what they heard all of the congregants saying was, we keep making all these changes, things are going so fast, can't we just slow down just a little bit? And like they said, we only had one shot, and we didn't want to mess it up. So they wanted us to wait again. They kept saying they were sorry. Kathy even cried. They asked us if we were okay. We said we were, because we didn't want to be a bother, you know. And that was a lie. We weren't okay. This all felt like a really big smack in the face, because just that morning, Pastor Joe had preached a sermon called Law of Love Trumps Love of Law. And it did not, it did not sit right with me. So I did the only thing that I knew to do. I wrote a very strongly worded email. I am the son of a woman named Karen, after all. Love you, Mom. And so in this email, I said, here's the thing, Joe. We are about to start planning our wedding because this is year 2 of this business, right? And if we start planning our wedding in a space that is not in this space, we are not coming back to this space, because every time I walk through these doors, I will look up and I will say, oh, this is the place that I was supposed to get married. This aisle was the aisle that I was supposed to walk down. These were the people that were supposed to keep me safe. And they didn't. The next day, Christmas Day, I get an email response. And he says that after listening to what I have to say, he thinks that I'm right, that it is time to push forward. Now, like I said, we knew that this was going to be like a whole thing we would have to work through, right? Baptists don't do anything very quickly. We talk things to death. But the fact that they acknowledged our frustration and said, it is time to begin this work, renewed our spirit, you know? And so a few months later, we are invited to a lunch meeting at Ditto's with our associate pastor, Nina, and our third deacon chair, a man named Bob. Okay? Yeah, it's not really important, but his name is Bob. He's a very pleasant man. And so it is at Ditto's that they tell us that they have brought this concept of performing same-sex ceremonies in front of the deacon body, who is not a decision-making body, by the way. They're just servant leaders of the church. Try to, think of it like a tester group, right? And the deacons propose that we bring this up in the next congregational conversation. And they said that eventually they might need to take a vote on this. And honey, it had been over 2 years at that point, 2.5 years. And I said, well, get them all in a room. Get everyone in the room. Let's vote. Let's do it right now. We'll do it. But just like Joe had said, Nina said, we've only got one shot. We want to make sure we get this right. We've got to prime the pump. We've got to test the waters and see how people feel about it. She said, you might not want to be in the room when we have the congregational conversation because people might show you what they really think, and that might be disappointing. And I told her that even though they weren't going to tell people who had asked, they were just going to say, a gay couple wanted to get married in the church. But I told her that if they were going to say those things, if they were going to be so against that I wanted to be in the room and I wanted them to look me in the eye when they said it. Because I said, they might not know that it's me, but I will know that it is me. And I want them to look me in the eye. And it was at that point that Nina began to cry. And she said, I'm so sorry. This is so wrong, Bob. They just want to get married, and this is their church home. We're their church home, and this isn't right. It's wrong. I'm so sorry. And I felt two emotions in that moment. The first emotion, obviously, was sadness. Because, Nina named the thing. Part of me wanted to wrap my arms around her, welcome her into my sadness, and say, yeah, I'm glad you get it. The second emotion was anger. Because here I was, 2.5 years of having to carry this emotional load and also helping my fiance carry his emotional load around all of this. And now here was this woman for whom getting married was as simple as going down to the courthouse and signing some documents, who had kids older than me, was offering up her emotional load for me to carry as well. And in that moment, I wanted to turn that table over like Jesus turned the table of the moneylenders over in the temple. I wanted to say, are you fucking kidding me? Really? They kept saying, we're sorry, it's not fair. We knew that it wasn't fair. We knew that people were sorry, but those phrases had been said so much, they didn't mean anything anymore. They were just things that people said when they didn't know what else to say. Now, when push came to shove, the church did not end up voting on whether or not same-sex couples could get married in the sanctuary. The deacon body felt very strongly, and once again, this is funny because the deacons aren't a decision-making body, okay? That's not how that works. But they said, you know what? If we vote on this, we are voting on people's humanity. And we do not feel like that is right. We are not going to do that. And there's nothing in our bylaws saying that we can't. And we've ordained gay ministers, and we have dedicated the babies of lesbian couples, and we've done all of these things. Why not this too? And so they ended up putting love wins on the sign in the church, and they said that we could get married. Now, The funny thing about this is there was not enough time for the church to send out an email or in the newsletter to let people know, because as soon, I don't know who the mole was, okay, but as soon as that decision was made, it went viral on the internet. And when I say viral, I mean there were newspapers in the United Kingdom talking about this Kentucky church, this Baptist church who was going to marry a gay couple. It made no sense to me. Why people in the United Kingdom? Maybe because they don't think we wear shoes. I don't know. But here we were, you know, about to marry gay folks in a Baptist church. And it's so funny because a lot of the congregants were big mad about this, that it had gotten out like that, and that they didn't learn from the church, that they learned from Facebook. A lot of them were upset that they didn't get to vote on this thing, not because they wanted to vote on our humanity, but because they really wanted to affirm our humanity. And that was the only way they could think of to do that. And so in what I can only say is the most Baptist thing I have ever heard of in my entire life, the congregation voted to affirm the deacon's decision not to vote. Oh, yes. Yeah. So, on May 23rd of 2015, almost exactly a month before marriage equality became the law of the land, and it just so happens to be my mom's birthday. Love you, Mom. David and I are standing in the fireside room of Highland Baptist Church, and we're helping each other get ready for our ceremony. Now, you know, a lot of traditional couples, they don't see each other till they're walking down the aisle, right? We said, to hell with that. This is not a traditional wedding. We're not going to do that. We are going to do what we've always done, which is show up for each other and help each other and be there for each other. And so I tucked his bow tie into the back of his Oxford shirt, and he rolled my jacket after I put it on, and we were the only two people in the room, and it was holy ground. Once we got into the sanctuary, we actually played paper, rock, scissors in front of everybody to see who would walk down the aisle first. David, do you remember who won? I did. And we got married in front of 350 people. It was standing room only at our church. You know, thank you. Yes, clap. When you're a couple that has been together as long as we have, we will have been in January. We will have been together for 16 years. You don't think that the whole getting married thing will change your relationship very much, right? And maybe it doesn't if you just go down to the courthouse and sign the documents. But for us, what we realized as we were standing in front of all of these people, like literally everyone we knew and loved who loved us and wanted to be there to support us, we realized that the covenant that we were joining in wasn't just with each other, it was with everybody in the room. And that while we were joining together as a couple, they were entering into a pact to support us in whatever way they needed and we needed in order for us to be a successful couple. And we were all there doing that pact together in a space where that had never happened before. Now, at the wedding reception, we danced to our first song like you do. It was Home by Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros. I don't know if y'all know that song. We did some light choreography. And, it is a gay wedding, you know. And when it came time for us to do the How Long Have You Been Married dance, we instead asked the DJ if he could say, how long have you been together, instead of how long have you been married, because marriage equality was not a thing yet. And so, like all the other times, we had to leave the floor, because we had literally just gotten married an hour ago, you know, so we didn't even make it to the 1 year mark yet. But this time we noticed that this was different because there were lots of gay couples on the floor as well, dancing. And they started counting those numbers up. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And all of those peoples whose weddings we had attended in the past, they left the stage. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, until the only people that were standing and dancing were our grandparents and a couple named Bob and Brent. Bob and Brent, who had been together since the early 90s. Bob and Brent, who had just the year before invited us to their very small private ceremony to get married at Millennium Park in Chicago. And as I watched them dance, and I think the song was Unchained Melody, I watched them, put their heads in each other's necks. And in that moment, I saw all of that time of pushing forward and little arguments that don't really mean anything, and glasses of wine, and all of that come what may, right? And it made me really realize for the first time what the word pride meant. And while we were watching them on the sidelines at our little table, David leaned into me and he said, "I want that someday." And I smiled and I put my hand on his hand and I said, "Me too. And we will have that someday." Thank you.
I love my job. I draw on my family. Noisy, loud, opinionated Mexican Americans on one side, and loud, noisy, opinionated 10th generation Mississippians on the other. As different as my family is, the expression of love is deeply rooted in food and service to others, friends, family, community, and country. I draw on my childhood growing up on military installations all over the world, and my own time serving in the Army. I draw on my culinary education at Sullivan University right here in Louisville, and I draw on my time as a healthcare chef, where I became absolutely adamant that food should be enjoyed and not endured. I have the privilege of working for one of the largest nonprofits in our area, Dare to Care Food Bank. Thank you. My name is Teresa White, and I am the executive chef of our community kitchen in the Parkland neighborhood, just a few miles from here. Traditional food banking is rooted in equality and predicated on donations. Everyone gets groceries, regardless of what your households look like. I can tell you all about the mountains of canned green beans that we get. I can tell you all about the peaches that expired 4 years ago. I can tell you with near clockwork precision that between July 15th and August 15th, as families are getting ready for the new school year, that food banks will be flooded by one particular canned item. I'll give you a moment to guess what that might be. Did anybody guess cranberry sauce? The cranberry sauce that didn't get served last Thanksgiving winds up in food banks every year right before school starts. Food banks take what we get, we do the best we can, and we serve as many people as we can. It's very much a food to the people kind of model. But food to the people doesn't take into consideration religious differences, and cultural differences, and regional tastes, and food aversions, and food allergies, and all the different diets people are on. So when we say food to the people, what we're really saying is, if you're hungry, you'll eat what I give you. And that doesn't feel respectful, and it doesn't feel dignified, and we said we really need to change the way food banking works. So over the last 4 to 5 years, we've had really serious conversations with the people that we serve, asking them to share with us their lived experiences, asking them to share with us what we don't know about them, but is so vital for us to serve them in the most respectful way possible. So we're shifting from an equality model to an equity model. What does that look like? Let's talk chicken. Our friends at Tyson donated 56,000 pounds of whole frozen chickens. Let me say that again because that was not a typo. 56,000 pounds of whole frozen chicken. Maybe for you, you're doing okay, but you have an unexpected medical bill or an expensive car repair and you just need a little bit of help from the food bank. But you have the capacity and the know-how and the time to make a meal out of that. For you all here, maybe you and your partner are retired and you're doing okay. But now you find yourself raising your grandchildren and now you're not okay. And now you need a little support from the food bank. But you really don't have the capacity to deal with a whole chicken. So maybe my team and I cook the chicken. We shred it and pack it into 3-pound bags and we freeze it for you. And now the prep work's been done, but you can take it from here, right? Maybe for you, you're a single parent with 3 kids and 3 jobs and you ride the bus and you have 0 time for any of that. Maybe for you, my team and I cook that into a meal for you and all you have to do is put it in the microwave to put dinner on the table. That's what equity looks like. That is where the innovation program was born, taking donated food and turning it into something else to help us serve people in the most respectful way possible. Every year during the ramp up to the Kentucky Derby, Dare to Care hosts its largest food fundraiser at Slugger Field, the Taste of Derby Festival. Has anybody gone? It's a great time. For the price of a ticket, attendees can get a pretty hefty sample from over 80 of the best restaurants and distilleries our area has to offer. The heavy hitters of our amazing food scene here all come out, bringing forth their best effort to raise funds for our neighbors in need. At the end of the event, attendees can cast their vote for their favorite dish for the coveted People's Choice Award. I joined the kitchen team in May of 2020 in the early months of the pandemic, and the Taste of Derby Festival had been canceled like so many other special and ordinary events at that time. But as we rounded into 2021, planning began in earnest, and I was thrilled when they asked the kitchen team to participate as a vendor for the first time ever. I really had to start thinking about the kids that we serve in our kids' cafe. We serve over 1,500 school-aged children hot, healthy meals at our kids' cafe locations all over the city. Additionally, we also make silver suppers, low-income meals that we make, frozen meals that we make for our low-income seniors, and we make medically tailored meals for our neighbors in need who also have a chronic illness. And across all of our programs, that's about 3,500 meals every day, and we're a team of 7 people. I love writing notes to the kids that we serve, commenting on things like the changing seasons, sports, holidays, and asking for their input on the meals that we make. So after we were invited to take part in the Taste of Derby Festival, I wrote a note to the kids. I asked them, what meal do you want me to serve to this fancy event with these fancy people? Kids meal. Their overwhelming response, buffalo chicken enchilada dip served with whole grain tortilla chips. Okay. This has been a hands-down favorite of the kids for years, adapted from a recipe from my predecessor. We punched up the nutrition, we started making the sauce from scratch, and we dialed up the heat because our kids love spicy. The day of the Taste of Derby was perfect. Warm, a little breezy. My team and I were carrying things into the event space at Slugger Field, passing by tables of places like Martini's, Jeff Ruby's, Volare. So we set up our booth, we put on our good chef coats, and we waited for the doors to open. floods of people started coming through, and we settled into kind of an easy flow of serving up samples, talking about who we are and what we do, and emphasizing the care that we take and the conversations that we have with our neighbors in need. I'm going to interrupt myself right now and just tell you that this is an event I look forward to every year as a foodie, and there's two particular attendees that I look for every year. They are elegantly dressed, fabulously accessorized, pair of ladies who come every year, and I have affectionately nicknamed them the pocketbook ladies. They bring a large handbag with little reusable containers in their bag. When they come across something particularly tasty, they ask for additional samples to enjoy at home. I love admiring their colorful outfits and asking them in a kind of a conspiratorial fashion, who made it into the pocketbook? So as we're serving our kids' cafe favorite meal, buffalo chicken enchilada dip served with whole grain tortilla chips, I'll admit to some butterflies when I saw the pocketbook ladies heading our way, feathered and bedazzled to the heavens. As a chef, there is something magical about that first bite. I watched them take their sample, and time kind of stood still for a moment. I watched the expression on their faces as they tasted and savored our food. And y'all, we made it into the pocketbook. At the end of the night, we were a little footsore and our voices were hoarse from hours of talking. We packed everything up, we dropped everything off at the kitchen, and we went home for some much-needed rest. A few days later, we had the after-action meeting. What went well, what didn't, what do we want to keep, what do we want to change? The votes for the People's Choice Award were tallied. And y'all, we scored in the top 5. Fifth, out of a packed field of 80 of the best restaurants and distilleries our area has to offer. So as I sat down to write that note to the children to let them know how we did, I imagined how respected and seen the kids must have felt. We served their choice, their meal, to this fancy event, to these fancy people. And the fancy people thought their food was worthy. I hope the children know how much we care. I hope that they know that we think that they are worth our time, our care, and our best effort. The kids were excited, jumping up and down, giving each other high fives. It was great. And then they immediately started sending me notes to tell me how I can improve for next year. Kids. The face of hunger isn't who you think it is. It's not those people over there. The face of hunger goes to work with you. They go to worship with you. Their kids go to the same school your kids go to. The face of hunger is in this room tonight. The face of hunger looks just like you. It is imperative that we make this work personal. We have the power to impact the world in service to the least of us. I hope that you think about that the next time you reach for that can of peaches that expired 4 years ago, or that leftover can of cranberry sauce. And I hope that you ask yourself, is this the best expression of love that I have to offer? Thank you.
All right, y'all, this has been amazing. You all are so beautiful and incredible. Thank you for your beautiful, beautiful stories. I wanted to end the night a little up and fun, and this song is about self-love in the sense that it tells anxiety where it needs to go. And I'm gonna need your help with this. There's a clapping part in this song. And Stephen, do you know when this part happens? In I Don't Care? I think you should be in charge. Do you want to come up here? Want to come up here? You come here right next to me. All right. And you can dance, whatever you want to do.
I mean,
Okay.
I've only had one drink.
There's still time after.
Heartbreaks beat, breath long gone, empty space, need someone, pull me out, that big black hole, leave that place, and lift my soul. It feels so damn fine when I don't care. I lose my mind when there's nothing there.
So you tell me when I'm supposed to clap.
I do need the way I am. I can't be beat by any man. It's all I know how to do. The rest is bold to you be true. It feels so damn fine when I don't care. It's all in my mind, but makes me scared. I don't care.
We're gonna start clapping
Here
now.
we go, y'all.
I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. No, I don't care. 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 No, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't. I don't. No one cares like you think they do. Do it till they all to worry about you. So free your mind, like the lady said, 'cause you're just as great as your mama said. It feels so